Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts. And I'm excited to kick off Season 2 of our podcast series in partnership with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. It's called We Are REC. Every week we'll release a new episode talking to different people from REC about a host of different topics. We'll get tips for saving money on your electric bill. We'll talk about renewable energy and the impact it can have in our communities. We'll get some behind-the-scenes info about what happens when the power goes out in a storm. Don't miss out on information about community grants, scholarships, REC-hosted events, and more. Get every single episode on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify. Just do a quick search for We Are REC. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We have pre-recorded today's conversation for The Valley Business Today over Zoom. I am sharing a screen with Cynthia Schneider. She is the CEO at the Top of Virginia Regional Chamber. Cynthia, how are you doing so far? Getting through phase one of reopening.
Doing great today, thank you. I've got two other staff in the office today, so it feels almost normal. It's really wonderful to see that energy starting to pick back up.
Well, I was excited when we planned to record today's show that you were going to bring a guest, and we chatted for a few minutes before we started the radio portion of our recording, and I had no idea the history and the background of the guest that you're going to introduce in a second. So I was really glad to see that some things are getting back to normal, and we're going back to talking to other people than just the two of us on the screen now.
Yep.
Tell me who you brought with you today and why she's here.
So we have with us today Celeste Burrell. She and her husband Alon and their son Christian are the owners and innkeepers at L'Auberge Provencale, a French country inn in White Post, Virginia. L'Auberge is also the 2019 Top of Virginia Regional Chamber Small Business of the Year Award recipient. They have been in business 38 years. And I brought Celeste today, asked her to join us because I think their business represents resiliency. They are a prime example right now of a company who has weathered many storms and continued to grow and develop, and especially during this, watching how they have changed their business model and some of the amazing things they've done, not only to keep their business running, but even to give back to the community right now, have been wonderful. So welcome, Celeste. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm glad to be here.
Celeste, tell me a little bit about L'Auberge, because I drive by it all the time, but I'm ashamed to admit I've never been there. So paint me a picture and tell me about the business.
Well, L'Auberge was started in 1981. We basically came up here from Key West, Florida. We had a couple restaurants there for about 5 years. My husband, who's from France and a chef, wanted to open an auberge, basically out in the middle of nowhere, which of course where we were. And we basically wanted, the reason being, we wanted to be close to all the production of food. So we have our own gardens, we have our own orchards. We were always, way before farm to table became farm to table. We were, we actually used to raise our own things, chickens, and we had pigs and we had rabbits, but we don't do that anymore. But from the very beginning, we were buying our lamb locally, our beef locally, our chickens locally, our produce that other than we produce ourselves locally. So we've always been kind of that farm to table before farm to table was farm to table. My husband was also an excellent chef. He was a James Beard Award winner. We cooked for Julia Child's 80th birthday, Robert Mondavi's 80th birthday. We cooked along with Paul Prudhomme, and we're lucky enough with Jean-Louis Paladin and, the famous chefs of my husband's day, and have always been a fine dining restaurant. Now, about 5 years ago, we were seeing the dynamics of that whole thing changing. We had been through many changes over the years, but this was really changing, and I understood that the future of the business was going to be with younger people, and because they're going to be the future that will be here. So we, looked at that, reflected upon that, and decided we were going to do major renovation to the building itself, and also to how we viewed our customer. So instead of being just, I called it Old Provence, we turned into Paris chic. So the Paris chic part was the fine dining, of course. But then we did with the new bar bistro area, we made it more, well, bistro style food, more comfort style food, I guess, with the French flair, of course. But that was also to introduce younger people to this type of cuisine, this type of service, give a entry level experience for the local community that they could use every day, that they wouldn't just think we were the house up on the hill, that everybody had to pay $300 a plate, which is so not true, has never been true, but that rumor has abounded. So I want to dispel that right now. That wasn't true. But on the fine dining side, we did retain our 4-course menus. We did retain our chef's tasting menu, you could have with or without a wine pairing. We have a second level wine spectator award. We have about 1,400 selections on the wine list and about 8,000 bottles in the basement. So we have one of the best bourbon bars in the country. We've been awarded for that as well. So we always want to, have a really high level of culinary experience here. That's what we do, or what we thought we did.
And then COVID-19 hit and all of that kind of got thrown into the blender, so to speak. And you've got something that's kind of like that, but not really now, right?
You are right. Actually, when the COVID-19 thing hit, we were looking at our busiest April ever. I had so many weddings booked. We had rooms were booked like crazy. Every weekend from that to the end of June was booked. Most during the week was booked. And it was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a record year. And we had already started that way. And in one day, that changed. It was one day. And the next day, the only phone call we got was cancellations. Brides canceled weddings, brides canceled rooms, people canceled their dinners, people just disappeared from the face of the earth, basically. And we were just in shock, to be frank. It was awful. So stressful, highly, highly upsetting. It was something that we didn't do, that was completely out of our control. The government shut us down, just like every other restaurant. So I'm not alone, but it didn't make it easy because other people were in that same boat. But it was like, okay, so what do you do now? What's your solution to this? So I'm a very good reader of my industry. I spend a lot of time reading about what other people do, where their directions are going, so I can stay up. Now, I'm not a trendy person, but it does give you some input, especially in the middle of nowhere. And I came upon curbside delivery, and I said, well, we could do that. I've got my chefs. I want to retain my chefs. I don't want to lose my chefs. So we started takeout, and then we started curbside, and then we started delivering to people's houses, which was something I never would have done, ever. So it was quite a turnaround. And I must say that I am in touch with also some chefs here in the local community that I'm friends with, and everybody's been very giving with their information about the PPP, about what they were doing in their restaurants for them to survive. We were on phone calls with each other in the mornings talking about the next steps and what we should be doing. And so there has also been that kind of camaraderie within the industry on the local level, which has been great.
Well, and it seems like just from listening to your story, you were already the kind of person who was educated about your industry. You knew how to forecast things that you were going to have to change in your business, which is what you started putting into place when you added the bistro. So I don't want to say it was probably easier for you to pivot when this happened, but in a way it probably was easier for you because you recognized it and were able to put the things in place where a lot of other businesses don't necessarily recognize it as early and can't do it as quickly.
Well, it had to be done quickly, and I guess I'm a little bit tenacious. I also got a little bit angry, and I was going to refuse to lose my business over this. There was no virus that was going to come down the pike or any governor of a state that was going to take me out, so I was going to make sure that somehow I survived. Has it been easy? No, it's not easy, but I have to say that the local community also was quite supportive. I can tell you a quick little story. I got a call from a customer that was within the first week that we started the takeout. She ordered a couple hamburgers, and she said, well, she came to the bistro a lot, at least once a week, always very nice. with her husband, very gracious people. And she said, I want to do something. I said, well, what's that? And I'm not going to mention her name because I don't think I should, unless I had her permission. But anyway, she said to me, I'm going to buy these 2 hamburgers and I'm going to come by to pick them up. And here, I want you to give me my credit card and I want you to charge $1,000 to the credit card. And I was like, for what? I said, no, I don't, why? And she said, I want to make sure that your employees that have always taken care of me are taken care of. And I want you to give this $1,000 to them. And now that brought tears to my eyes. That was, oh my gosh, what a generous thing. Now, yes, she is wealthy. Yes, she can afford it. But even to have the conscious thought to take care of others in that manner was pretty much overwhelming. That's another, like, then there was those tear moments, where people did things that were just overwhelmingly generous and nice that, gave you some faith in humanity that you can still move forward and that we're kind of all in this together.
Well, let's take a break on a happy note because that was an amazing story. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more, Celeste, about some of the things that you have put in place and what you're looking at going into the next 6 weeks, 6 months, or a year, and how much of that you think might change based on what changes in our environment. And Cynthia, I know you've got a ton of things that are also going on with the Chamber. So can we cover all of that when we come back?
That sounds great.
All right, when we come back, we're going to chat a little bit longer with Celeste Borel. She is with L'Auberge Provencale. That's as close as I can get to 3 years of high school French.
You did good. You did good.
I've been practicing all morning. We are sharing a Zoom screen for the Valley Business today, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Expecting to hear a commercial? That's what this is, sorta. First, I want to thank you for listening to the Valley Today podcast. You're one of thousands who listen to the show this way every month. Sometimes it's because our listeners are busy and they want to listen when it fits their schedule, or it's a guest of the show who want to hear what they sounded like when they were on the radio. We even have a few binge listeners who listen to a week's worth at a time. Can you even imagine? So if you want those people, your potential customers, to hear your message, then this could have been your ad. And the bonus, your commercial isn't restricted to just 30 or 60 seconds. You can take up to 2 minutes to talk to those customers. And there's even the opportunity to be an exclusive sponsor of the Valley Today podcast, which also gets you on-air mentions at the end of every show. If any of this sounds interesting to you, give me a call at the station, 540-635-4121, or send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. You can also find all my contact info by searching for me on theriver953.com. Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We have pre-recorded today's conversation for the Valley Business. Today we are sharing a Zoom screen with Cynthia Snyder. She is the CEO at the Topper Virginia Regional Chamber. We've also been having an amazing conversation with Celeste Borel. She is the owner at L'Auberge Provencale. Again, French is horrible. And we went to break, Celeste, and you were talking about this phenomenal story of one of your customers. And the whole time you were telling the story, I couldn't help but think that the reality, though, is that this was a customer that you clearly had a relationship with. This was somebody who you had done right by them, and they felt like they owed it to you to do right by you. And that's kind of the foundation for any small business if they're going to succeed. So I wanted to just kind of real quickly give you props, because that wasn't just the generosity of a customer. That was a customer thanking you for being generous with them over their many years of being your customer.
Well, that's true. When you're in a small business like an inn, I think almost especially, you do develop, really, really loyal customers over the years. And as long as we believe in hospitality. That's why I'm in this business. Treating people with respect and kindness will always come back. If you are developing over years, I have customers that have been here 30, 40, 50 times that come over because not just the food, but because of the staff and because of the people that work for me. And even when we were talking about winning the Chamber Award, I sincerely meant it when I went up to get that Small Business Award, that I don't do this without the rest of my staff. And they're a core piece of my business. I did get that PPP, as I mentioned. And so we were able to rehire everyone back. The odd thing is the people that didn't want to come back were waiters. And all the chefs came back, all the office came back, all the housekeeping came back, all the maintenance guys came back. It was the waiters that didn't want to come back. So I have a little comment about that. I don't know how the other restaurants are dealing with it, but I do understand it's been a problem in my industry right now. It's because they're getting the extra $600 from the government, and they're getting the $394 from the state. So now you're making $1,000 to stay home. Take home, stay home. It's a little bit of a challenge. So I think that's one thing that we're going to have to be resilient about. So I even have, Andy Gale here, who's being a waiter all of a sudden, and, Lily in my office, who's being a waitress all of a sudden, and Emily, so it's different. It's different. It's a different challenge. That part is a new challenge. But going back to what you were saying, we have been able and lucky enough to develop wonderful relationships with people over the years that trust us and want to be here.
I am totally, first of all, coming to have dinner if you can promise that Andy Gale is going to have to be my waiter.
I will promise you. In fact, maybe we should auction him off at the next chamber thing and say he can be your waiter.
I think you're onto something there, because you got a few cute guys around your premises there that I think some of the ladies would love to have dinner with.
Yeah, there's some cuties, there's some cuties, that's for sure.
So Celeste, we're in the middle right now. And again, we're pre-recording this actually before even the Memorial Day weekend. So we're sitting here on a Friday morning recording this, and it's airing on Wednesday afternoon. I assume we'll still be in phase 1. What does phase 2, phase 3, 6 months or a year down the road look like for you? Do you have any idea how much of the curbside and the takeout and the delivery and the menu will stay the same, and how much of it might change?
Well, right now in phase 1, we're allowed to have people dine outside at 50% capacity of what our license is. So that's actually not too bad. It's like 27 people at a time. So we've modified where we're seating people. We have seating out on the porch, so we do have a covered area, and then we do have the terrace, which is unfortunately uncovered. So that is dictated a lot by weather. We do have a petite retreat we're doing right now, which is giving some impetus for people to have a little bit of a discount to come in and stay overnight. And they can dine in their rooms if they're afraid. We can do all the dining right in room. If they are not, they eat outside. Oddly enough, everybody wanted to eat outside, no matter how cold it was out there. We do have some heaters, but they all want to be out in the country and be outside. So that's your phase 1. Phase 2 supposedly is going to be sometime around the end of the month, and that will be the ability for us to open up indoor dining, which will be really important, because you can't, if you only have one covered area and 6 tables under it, you can't survive like that. And so then 50% dining indoors will give you a little more leeway, and you can still have some outdoor when weather is clement for that. Phase 3, I don't even know when they're going to actually let us go back to normal. So it's going to be the new normal. We probably will, like I said, continue the curbside. We'll continue the in-room dining. The customers have like the indulgence of being able to decide to dine in their room. As far as the fine dining, we're hoping to launch that sometime in the beginning of June. The main reason we didn't do it yet is because to bring that type of expensive products in-house, we have to make sure that we have the people here to sell it to, or it's going to go bad in the walk-in. And I hate food waste. So that is not what I want to do. And, my customers do want that special experience to come here. They want that special dining experience, but they've all been super happy with what the chef has been producing, in the bistro style now.
Well, and you said something to me before we started recording for the radio show that I thought was really interesting, and I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective, but it's very true. Smaller is safer sometimes, because you were telling me that you have full control over the cleaning and the sanitizing and who is going where and who is touching what. So it is a whole lot easier for you in a lot of instances than it may be for some of these larger hotel chains for people to come and to stay for a night or a weekend or even longer.
Well, I think that's super true. If I were a customer, I would prefer to stay in a small establishment that can control all of that. I mean, I feel sorry for these large hotels. I mean, all the way from the Hiltons to the Ritzes to all of them, these beautiful resorts. They're going to have a really hard time with making people feel like they're safe because they're not going to have as much control. So that is kind of our slogan right now is stay safe, stay small, stay safe, because we do. And we have respect for the customer. If you don't want us to go into the room, we won't go into the room. We'll deliver things through the door. You can pick up clean towels. You can pick up whatever you want. We have sanitizers all over the place. We have one employee going around just sanitizing all the touch surfaces every so often during the day to make it visible for the guests to feel safe, but it also makes us feel good. As I mentioned also, everybody's getting safe certified, which I think that I will put out there. I don't know if we did this on air or not, but until the end of May, all restaurant employees, hospitality employees can go on to the Serve Safe website for free and get your certification. It's about a 2-hour course, well worth it for any level. I don't care if you're the top level or bottom level. We have required everybody at the inn here to be certified so that they have, a base level of super cleanliness. And then we went to hospital grade disinfectants and hospital grade sanitizers. So I think that, and we have a lot of distance. We can be out in the open air here. You can sit out in the Adirondack chair and be a quarter of an acre away from the other guy who's doing the same thing and still enjoying the same experience at the same time. So yeah, I think staying small is going to be a lot better and safer for most people nowadays.
Well, we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, and I want to make sure I get to a lot of the things that the Chamber has going on. But before we do that, 2 things jumped out to me that you've said, Celeste, and I want to know how I can order them. You mentioned bourbon bar and you mentioned burgers. So how would one get a burger and bourbon from L'Auberge? Like, say tonight.
You can actually do that, and you can do it to go. The Virginia ABC allows us to give 2 drinks to go, 1.5 ounces each. So if you want 1.5 ounces of a great bourbon, it's up online. You can just go on to our dining page, hit curbside. It hits there. It comes up with all the things you can order. You can look right online at our wine list, which also lists all our bourbons and scotches and everything like that, and some creative cocktails. So we've been serving those to go as well, and you're allowed to have 2 a person for each order. So there you go. That's how you can do it. Or you can stop by if the weather changes and eat outside.
So what I'm hearing is I can place my order, come pick it up, sit in the car, place another order, drive down to the Sheets at Waterloo, turn around and come back and get 2 more drinks and then go home.
Careful there, careful.
I'm not endorsing any of that.
My husband is
better yet. Just get a room for the night, Janet.
Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia. That's the best bet. Get a room for the night.
And I'm not even that far away, so that makes it even better.
Well, last night we had.
You won't want to leave when you get there. The grounds are so spectacular right now. The flowers that are blooming, the sunset at night, the view of the sunset from the back of the inn is absolutely spectacular. I just encourage everyone to get on down to White Post to L'Auberge Provencale. And what's your website, Celeste?
L'aubergeprovencale.com.
There you go.
And then you're on all the social media networks as well, right?
Absolutely. Like us on Facebook. We have specials that go out on that. Just follow us on Instagram. We put up our menus there and everything for everybody to see as well.
Awesome. So, Cynthia, speaking of Facebook, your Facebook groups have just exploded in all of them in particular, but you've got a lot that are specific to a particular topic, right?
We do. We have a TOV Eats. It's takeout and carry out options for the community. So we have a myriad of businesses and restaurants who have let us know that they're open. They put up pictures of what their specials are that day. So that's a Facebook group, TOV Eats, which is takeout and carry out options. We also have a TOV Jobs for people that are trying to get back to work. Remember that unemployment is going to end, and we're really encouraging employees to get back to work. Virginia, get back to work. It's going to be what turns this all around for everyone. And then at the end of the night, when you need a little good news, we've got TOV Good News on Facebook, and you'll see there great stories. I wanted to mention one of the other things that Celeste has done and the folks at L'Auberge was on Mother's Day, a portion of the proceeds of their day went to a nonprofit that celebrates moms and what they're doing. to raise the next generation. So they're giving back, and that's another just incredible principle that you see them operating in their business of being a great community partner.
Right now, the application process is open for the community leadership program. And quite frankly, I will say never in my lifetime have I felt like we needed leaders more than we need them now. So how does somebody apply to be part of the leadership program?
They can go to our website, regionalchamber.biz, B-I-Z for business, regionalchamber.biz, and see all the happenings that are going on in the chamber. There's a specific slider that they'll see. They'll tap that slider and get right to the application process with Jody Wall at jwall@regionalchamber.biz, and including all of the other great events we've got going on. We've got webinars of education of how to reopen your business. We've got ribbon cuttings of businesses that are reopening coming up. We've got another virtual job fair coming up on June 17th, how to open your business. So great things happening still here at the top of Virginia.
And I will say that no matter how many classes you graduate from that community leadership program, none of them are going to be as good as the very first class, because that's the one that I graduated from.
Set the pace, Janet.
Andy Gale's sticking his face in the screen now to try and argue with me about that, because he's a graduate of the leadership class.
I was in thinking today about leadership. You know, managers look at the day-to-day. Leadership looks ahead. What's coming? How do I prepare for that? And I thought about that with Celeste. You know, 5 years ago, you saw the need to begin changing your business model and going to a bistro and adding that, and having that kind of foresight and reading your industry, being in touch with your industry, collaborating with your colleagues, how that has lended to your success. And I think those are great principles for all of our businesses to be looking at and modeling ourselves after. And that's great leadership.
Well, Cynthia, on that note, I do have to also say that your leadership at the Chamber has been pretty fantastic. Because when I got in touch with you and said, we need an outlet for the restaurants to be able to have takeout, that somehow the Chamber, you know, if they could help out, and it was instantaneous, yes, here's what we can do. And that's where that takeout delivery evolved, you know. And so they've been very responsive to, I think, all the local businesses, and that definitely speaks to Cynthia and her team.
Thanks.
And I will put links to all of the websites that we've talked about today. I will put links to all of the Facebook pages that we talked about during the show today. I will also find and put the link up to where you can go to get that free Serve Safe certification, because you're right, Celeste, especially if waiters right now find it a little more financially lucrative to be at home. It's not going to hurt for some of them to take this certification so that when the job market opens back up, they've got that in their back pocket as well. So Celeste, Cynthia, thank you both for spending some time on the screen with me today. I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for all you're doing, Janet, to help us all get the word out about the great things going on in the top of Virginia.
Tomorrow, it is Traffic Safety Thursday. It will not be a live show in the studio, however, but I am going to still be talking with Lieutenant Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. I have been crafting a list of questions that I'm sure are going to get some eye rolls out of him. So meet me back here tomorrow a few minutes after noon, and I will have that show all geared up and ready to go for you.